So the function of fat bodies is to store energy. Don't say to store fat. They are fat. So what's the purpose of fat? Stored energy. Yeah, so it stores energy. And if you actually lift them up, and if you're really careful, you'll see that there's two sets of fat bodies, one on the right and one on the left. And if you go all the way down, you'll see that they all grow from the kidneys. And in fact, this is a male because right there's a testy. The kidneys are down under, way back. So there's the kidneys are very brown, like a kidney bean. They're shaped like a kidney bean. They're brown. And you'll see that the fat bodies and the testes and the ovaries would be right where the testes are. That right there is not a testy. That's the spleen. That's in the mesentery membrane. So let me pull that up so you can see that. You see, that's not attached to the kidney. That's in this membrane. So don't look at that. Here's the fat bodies, and right there is a testy, a testicle. And if we pull the small intestines aside, over here is the other group of fat bodies and the other testy right there.
Well, it has to be color-coded?
The colors may not be right on the test.
And then the large intestine is, well, right there. Yeah, where your thumb is. You're right.
Yeah, I'm going to go through all that in a second. So first I'm going to get these fat bodies out of the way.
Okay.
So without removing the testicle or testy, I'm going to cut this fat out.
Oh, no, clean.
Clean cut.
Well, I've dissected a few frogs in my 17 years.
How many?
He's a pro.
I don't know. 50?
Whoa.
So here, if you lift up on the small intestine, I'll go ahead and discuss this now. It's held in place by the mesentery membrane. That's why you can't really separate it out. And if you look at my finger there, there's the membrane, and you can see the blood vessels in it. Because remember, the purpose of the small intestine is to move the digested food from the intestine into the bloodstream. So you got to have a lot of blood flow. So the mesentery membrane supports all of this, holds it in place, and contains the blood vessels, which you can see a lot of them right there. And it's in that mesentery that you'll find the spleen, which looks just like a testy or very similar. Here's the spleen. Right here. So in the mesentery membrane is the spleen. The spleen, I said, was like a red blood cell factory. It has some other tasks too, but mainly it breaks down old red blood cells and assists in the production of new red blood cells. But down lower is the kidney and the testy, and on the other side, the brown kidney and the testy right there. We'll come back to that in a moment. So, with everything opened up here, what we can see automatically, we can see the heart, which is right here, and it pumps blood. We didn't really talk about that, but right there's the heart. It pumps blood. This is the three-lobed liver. 1, 2, 3. The three-lobed liver. The liver detoxifies the blood. It has a few functions, but primarily it detoxifies the blood. And to be clear, it does not remove toxins from the blood. It just does chemistry on them. So, for example, if your blood, this is not the liver, but if your blood is too acidic, your body will pull calcium from your bones to buffer that, because calcium is basic, and it'll do that chemistry. It's not removing the acid from your body, but it adds calcium to the blood to balance and combine with, it does chemistry to combine with the acids. Well, in the case of the liver, it does chemistry. So if people drink alcohol, which is a toxin, the liver does not remove the alcohol, but it does chemistry on the alcohol to make it non-toxic. Too much alcohol or too frequent, and the alcohol actually will damage the liver itself as the liver tries to solve that problem. So alcohol is a toxin to human beings and to animals, other animals, and the liver detoxifies. So there's 3 lobes to the liver. The other thing the liver does, it produces bile, B-I-L-E, bile, and bile breaks down, or it's called an emulsifier. It breaks up fat into little bitty globules so that the digestive enzymes can get to the fat. So bile breaks down fat. The liver produces bile, sends it to the small intestine, but also excess bile is stored in the gallbladder. And if you look up at the screen, when you lift up this lobe of the liver, there's the gallbladder, that little sac right there. This one's actually, it looks like it's full of bile. So the liver produces bile, which breaks up fat. The gallbladder stores excess bile. And the rest of the bile travels down to the small intestine. And right here is where it does that. If you look right there, this is the beginning of the common bile duct. You guys see that? Bile travels down the common bile duct, which runs through the pancreas. So if I move the intestine over, the pancreas runs right through there. Now, it's hard to see the pancreas because there's a membrane here. So if I flip the stomach and intestine upside down, you can easily see the pancreas. It's the long piece of tissue next to the intestine, right here. It's like a flat, reddish brown organ. Can you guys see it?
Yeah. Kind of.
I'm going to do it better here.
We have 3 minutes, boss.
Really?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. So it runs down right here. This is the pancreas. The pancreas produces digestive enzymes. It also has the common bile duct. So that duct carries the bile down here to the small intestine. And the pancreas produces digestive enzymes and hormones that also go into the common bile duct into the intestine. If the bell rings, and it will while I'm talking, just quietly get up and leave, and I will keep talking, close the door, and I'll try to finish up quickly during passing period. So, moving on, the food comes through the esophagus, which is up here, there, into the stomach here. So notice the location of the stomach. It's over on this side of the body. It's a big whitish organ. The stomach stores the food, and chemical digestion starts here. The food moves into the small intestine. It's met with digestive enzymes and bile. Travels through the small intestine, which is all of this, small because it's narrow. The small intestine does a little bit of squeezing and digesting, but mostly it absorbs the food into the bloodstream. And then eventually, if you follow that down, the small intestine joins the large intestine here. The large intestine absorbs excess water, just like yours does. The large intestine absorbs excess water prior to the frog defecating or releasing that feces. Then the somewhat drier waste moves down into the cloaca, which is down under here and we can't see it. The cloaca in Latin means little sewer because the feces go there, the urine goes there, and the sperm and egg goes there before being released through the anus. By the way, this is the urinary bladder. It's empty, but it sits down in this basin at the bottom. Here's the urinary bladder. See that? The urinary bladder is connected to the cloaca, so it holds overflow urine. Yeah.
So the thing that you're holding, like the see-through, what is that made out of?
It's membrane. It's a big thick membrane.
Wait, so all the things.
It's made of cells. Yeah.
All the things that look like that, I know. So they're all like membrane.
Yeah, just tissues. I mean, exactly what the bladder's made of, I don't know.
It's kind of like papery, like. Okay.
Yeah. So if you guys will close the door, I'll finish this and I'll try to get it on YouTube, on my website.
Is that the throat?
What?
Is that the throat?
Well, that's the throat area up there. Yeah, there's muscles up there and some other stuff.
Alright, guys.
You just had to get in the video,
Wait, you're
didn't
gonna
you?
edit this part out, right? You're gonna edit this
No,
part out, right?
no.
I'm not editing anything. Take off.
This is popular.
Okay.
Show
So-
me the out.
I'm going to move kind of quickly here. So we've hit digestion. We've hit digestion. We've hit the fat bodies. We need to go a little deeper now. So I already talked about the testes are attached to the kidneys, the big brown kidneys. The kidneys remove waste, liquid waste from the frog's bloodstream, primarily uric acid or urea. And then when that's mixed with water, we call that urine. And it sends it down through the archinephric ducts, which are on the low sides of the kidneys. They're kind of hard to see. They're kind of right here. The archinephric ducts carry the urine down into the cloaca, and it can overflow into the bladder until the frog decides to relieve itself. Also, in the male, the sperm is produced in the testes. That sperm goes into the kidneys and down the archinephric ducts. There are little swellings down here on the archinephric ducts that you can't see called seminal vesicles that collect the semen from the male until he's ready to copulate with a female. And then those seminal vesicles will contract, pushing the semen with the sperm into the cloaca and then out. If this were a female, instead of testes here, you would have ovaries, and they would be little floppy looking, if they're empty, little floppy looking tannish sacs, not much larger than the testes. But if the female is producing eggs, they would be huge and swollen, black and white pepper looking, full of eggs. And they would release those eggs into the body cavity. There would be oviducts, they're called, not fallopian tubes, oviducts, which this is a male, so we don't have them. The oviducts would be on a producing female, would be giant, swollen, and they would look like ramen noodles. Huge tubes, all coiled up on both sides. And they pull the eggs in, they move through the tubes, and the frog has two uteruses, or uteri. Each oviduct connects to a uterus, which stores the eggs until they copulate. The male frog pushes on the abdomen of the female, squeezes the uteri, the eggs go out the cloaca and out, and then the male deposits the semen onto the eggs, outside of the female's body. So external fertilization. And I think that we have covered about everything. Check your notes, make sure, because I need to go on to another class, but I think that we've covered everything. Oh, actually we haven't. The lungs, the air moves through the larynx, voice box, through the bronchus, we talked about, into the lungs here. The lungs are spongy sacs, and there's one on each side. You kind of have to look up under the armpits. So there's the other one. They're collapsed right now. They don't have any air in them. They're not hollow. They're spongy, and they have these air sacs in them called alveoli. Alveoli. So there's also a lot of blood flowing to the lungs, and the alveoli, little sacs like little grapes, grape-like clusters of alveoli absorb the air goes into them, and then the capillaries are embedded in them. And the function of the lungs, the function of the alveoli, is to exchange gases between the bloodstream of the frog and the air, the atmosphere. Mainly oxygen in, carbon dioxide out, just like our lungs. That's it. Good luck on the test. We're all counting on you.